What's happening, everybody? Matt here, but you can call me Matub, and welcome to the Coin Toss, a show where I argue a topic with someone who is usually much smarter than me. And today we have a real journalist. Aaron, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hey Matt, thanks for having me. I wouldn't consider myself a real journalist, but I do work for a big journalistic organization. My full-time job is a programmer at Bleacher Report, an NFL programmer. And then I also run a company called Women Talking Sports on the side, which basically is exactly like what it sounds like, a bunch of women talking about sports. And then I write Packer articles in my free time whenever I can, which is my favorite thing to do. So I'm happy to be here.
Well, I gave you a quick rundown before, but just in case anyone in the audience forgot, we are going to pick a topic. We're going to flip a coin to see what side of the topic we are on, and then we are going to argue our case for 1 minute. And then after that, we will probably end up just chatting about how dumb the topic was in the first place. So, for anyone who is not on Twitter, for the last couple days, Twitter has been ablaze because Charles Peanut Tillman, former bane of the Packers' existence, said that if Aaron Rodgers needs more cornerbacks, he is happy to suit up and play to help run the table. Which I think we could both agree that in a world where Ted Thompson runs a team, that's never going to happen in a million years. But if it did, that's so we're going to say whether or not it would be a good idea in the vastly hyperbolic world where Ted Thompson would actually sign a street free agent who's like 35 years old and hasn't played in a year. So I'm going to set up the coin flip now. And I'm going to, as I always do on my phone, let's say heads, you have to go for Peanut Tillman, and tails, I go for Peanut Tillman. All right? Well, it flipped.
Okay.
We got tails. So I'm for Peanut Tillman coming out of retirement.
You get the fun one.
And you are against it. So, since you have the actual logical thing, I'm going to let you go first, and then I'm going to start making my wild accusations. So I'm going to set a timer for 1 minute, and then we can see how it goes. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
So this is obviously the easier of the two. Like you said, is it logical? It's completely illogical. Bringing a guy off of his couch who hasn't played football in at least a year, from what we know, it doesn't really make any sense, especially now going into the playoffs. I mean, realistically, what would he be able to do if he did come back? Probably nothing. He hasn't, like I said, hasn't played football. To learn the defense in that short amount of time is just pretty illogical. He would maybe come in for a snap here to give some of the other cornerbacks a break, but that's probably all that we'd see from him. Especially now that the Packers have moved up Herb Waters from the practice squad, and he's a former wide receiver that they moved to cornerback. It really just doesn't seem to make any sense to bring Peanut Tillman back, although I think it would be kind of fun to see a bear in a Packers uniform, aka Julius Peppers. It'd be kind of cool to see those two guys together. But my minute.
That is your minute. I think those are very good points. It's funny is people always bring up how Capers has like one of the most complex defenses for people to learn. And I mean, especially you get a guy like Peanut Tillman who was always more physical of a corner than a shutdown guy. So he would probably be required to learn blitz schemes and stuff like that.
Right. It just isn't in this short of time. I mean, obviously it wouldn't be until next week that you'd see him, and what could he really do? The ROI just isn't there. So, but again, it's a really fun idea, and it was cool to see him tweet that out to Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if Rodgers responded. I didn't see anything, but
no, so Rodgers is usually pretty quiet during the season. He'll usually say one or two things, but pretty much ever since his brother kind of sold him out on national TV, he's been real quiet on social media.
Yeah, the whole Jordan Rodgers thing.
What's funny is there was a big thread on Reddit after the Seahawks game where people were blasting Russell Wilson with the rhetoric about Aaron Rodgers. So they're like, oh, Russell Wilson threw 5 interceptions. He must not talk to his brother on the.
Oh yeah, I can't really blame Jordan Rodgers for that stuff, but I know people were blaming Olivia Munn too for a lot of Aaron Rodgers' faults, which is also a very interesting thing to me. I mean, if anything, Olivia Munn is helping him. I can't see her hurting him at all.
Which I'm really sick of the Olivia Munn takes. Olivia Munn is a distraction. Olivia Munn is Aaron Rodgers' beard. He's secretly gay, and it's just. I don't care. He throws touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't care. Aaron Rodgers is good. That's all we need. Leave Olivia Munn out of it. That's fine with me.
Okay, so I'm going to start my timer now. And I'm going to argue why Peanut Tillman is the GOAT, and we should totally sign him and throw all the money at him. All right, ready? And 3, 2, 1, start. Okay, so we are currently looking at a secondary that at one point literally only had one corner on the field. We have Micah Hyde, who is, up until recently, was at best a nickel corner and was an okay safety sometimes when he had a really good supporting cast around him. And when you talk about bringing up Herb Waters, who just turned to corner this year, which is bananas. So we're talking about a situation where there's a good chance where any warm body off the street who has cornerback experience could play at an elite level, especially when you look at the Vikings, who have, was it Terrence Newman, who's like 38 or something, like some ridiculous number. So age is just a number, especially when you have the peanut punch. The guy creates fumbles, and that is something that the Packers sorely need. The turnover differential is probably the most important thing, outside of Dom Capers says that the most important is actually passer rating differential, which, bringing in a real corner instead of a safety, that's my thing, but bringing in a real corner instead of a safety playing corner or a wide receiver playing corner would be important. Diane.
Yeah, I mean, I like your points there. I think I would also add, if we are going to go with this Peanut Tillman narrative, the fact that he could probably mentor some of those young guys. I mean, like you said, these are very inexperienced cornerbacks. I mean, like Herb Waters, he hasn't played any snaps except for on the practice squad. So being a mentor would be his one, I guess, would be the big draw to having him at least on the field or on the sidelines. And I think it would be really cool to see another one of those Peanut Punch retirement videos if he did come back and leave again.
Which, it's funny because he was, I'm not going to say successful, but he was not a detriment when he played in Carolina.
Right.
He pretty obviously lost a step, but, and honestly, in the perfect world, even if somehow he was still in football shape, he would get destroyed in zone because he was not like I brought up Terrence Newman, but he was never the burner that Newman was.
Right. And speaking of the Carolina game too, I mean, obviously he has the playoff experience, which is huge right now. Those guys that he's going up against, or the guys that are on the Packers squad right now, they don't have a lot of the playoff experience that he has. And as we know, the playoffs are a completely different beast. It's a fast-paced game. There's a lot more pressure. So I guess, I mean, that too would be helpful to have.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, is I used to always, playoff experience. Well, it's just another game, whatever. But no, you can statistically look and see how rookies and people without playoff experience tend to regress heavily in the postseason. Like,
right. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was reading the other day that when you really think about it, if the Packers win the Super Bowl, that's 16 games in a row that they had to play without a bye. And
wow.
You have to have mental toughness and experience with a situation like that.
Yeah, I mean, it is a whole different thing. The energy is different. The game is faster. The pace is a lot more intense. So, I mean, McCarthy says it all the time. The playoffs are just a different type of game. So having somebody who has that experience is always helpful. I mean, look at Eli Manning. He's completely different in the playoffs than he is in the regular season. So it's like, it's hard to say that the playoffs aren't different than the regular season. They are. They're a lot more intense.
Oh, and you also can't forget January Joe Flacco.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Oh, man. But yeah, like if Joe Flacco, if he plays like January Joe Flacco, he would be probably the greatest quarterback of all time, bar none. But sadly, he has to play from September through December.
Yep. I mean, it's the same thing with December. Aaron Rodgers, he's just at a different level in December, and it's because you get that rhythm going and you're finally into the good part of the season.
Well, during the Lions game, Chris Collinsworth said if you look at Aaron Rodgers' stats for the last 6 games, he might be the best quarterback ever.
Absolutely. Yeah. He's playing at an entirely different elite level that you just don't see. And he plays like that in December for some reason. It's like Tony Romo, for some reason, always falls off in December. Aaron Rodgers gets better in December. So, yeah.
Absolutely. There's the Tony Romo, like, bring Tony home was another big thing this year. They're like, oh, they don't need him anymore. Bring him in as a backup. Bring him home. Like,
I wouldn't mind Tony Romo as a backup. It's better than what we have right now. I mean, it's better than what we have right now. He's got the experience.
I don't know.
I like Tony Romo. People hate on me because I say I like Tony Romo so much, but I kind of like the guy.
Well, my wife, who is not an experienced football watcher, absolutely loves Tony Romo. Anytime he's on TV, she's like, he's just a nice man.
Right. That's what people say. He's so personal. He's just a really nice guy. He's like Tim Tebow. I mean, who doesn't love Tim Tebow for the kind of guy he is? Not a great football player, but he's a great guy. You just gotta love him.
I think. Well, see, my argument with Tim Tebow was he would have been a great H-back, but he wanted to play quarterback. He never learned how to throw properly.
Right.
Such is life. But
well, now he's a player, so we'll get to see him at least play some baseball.
And before I let you go, I wanted to get your opinion on Aaron Rodgers not making the All-Pro team. Did you hear that?
I didn't actually hear that, so this is the first time hearing of it. I mean, it's a bit shocking, I guess, but yeah, I think the first half of the season with him not playing so well is probably what did it. I think that's also what's going to be, if he doesn't get the MVP nod, that's probably what's going to take it away from him, is just the way he played the first part of the season. I mean, he threw quite a few picks, and yeah, I just don't think that. I think the way, like you said, Chris Collinsworth said, if he played the way he played these last 6 games, there's absolutely no doubt that he would be the MVP. There's no doubt that he would have made the All-Pro team. But because he just didn't have it the first half of the season, that's probably what did it.
And it's funny is his not having it the first half of the season, he still threw, it was like 20-something touchdowns and had a passer rating like 95. Like, that's him having a down season.
Right. That's Aaron Rodgers falling off and not being elite anymore, as what's his name would say. Yeah.
Skip Bayless?
Skip Bayless, yes, as Skip would say. Skip, the way that he tweets about Aaron Rodgers, I can't handle him sometimes.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not a big fan of Skip Bayless, even outside of his takes, because I don't follow college football a whole lot, but he's a big reason that SMU got the death penalty back in the 80s. And I think anyone who would rat on a local school like that, I just never really can't come back from that. Same reason, like, I don't like Pete Carroll because he dismantled USC and then left. Like,
yeah,
I don't like people that will throw gasoline on a fire and then walk away. It just irks me.
Yeah, it's hard to be a fan of Skip Bayless with his biased takes, I would say.
Yeah, well, I mean, what's funny is as much as Skip Bayless hates Aaron Rodgers, Stephen A. Smith just rides that hype train.
Yes, he does.
All right, well, Erin, it has been a pleasure having you on. I mean,
thank you so much. It's fun.
Don't tell Brian or Dusty, but you're a much better guest than they are.
Well, I'm down to come back anytime. I always love talking about the Packers.
Awesome. We would love to have you back, hopefully, for, let's say, I don't know, like a Super Bowl coin toss or.
Absolutely, I'm always in for that.
All right, guys. Well, Erin, go ahead and pimp out anything that you want people to know, like Twitter, website, stuff like that.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Aaron B, like Beth Underwood. You can follow us at Women Talking Sports on womentalkingsports.com. Or you can always use the Bleacher Report app, which is my favorite thing. Yeah.
All right, guys, and that does it for me. You can find me on Twitter. I'm at Call Me Matub, as always, and find me at Pack to the Future. I gotta say, Erin, you have been the dog's pajamas. Thanks again for coming on.
Thank you.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you later. Go Pack, go.